Hello everybody, and welcome to the 13th episode of the HSBG podcast. I'm your host, Educatedcollins, and I'm here with my constant co-host, Shady Bunny. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thank you so much. How are you today, Collins?
I'm doing okay. I today is early, but I got everything done relatively on time, so I'm feeling good, feeling confident. Also, we have our very special guest, Slysssa, is here to showcase what she's got some knowledge. There's also been a lot of interesting changes this week, so I'm sure we have a lot to talk about. How you doing, Slysssa?
Good. I'm excited to be here on Lucky Episode 13.
Yes, the best episode so far, I hope. but yes, it's always good to have respected members of the community. We had a tournament that we won together. Me and you and a couple other people doing some tag teaming, working out there. But it's just how you been streaming and playing Battlegrounds, and just the transition as well from constructed and so.
I've been good. It's been a lot of fun. I love the Battlegrounds community. It's been a lot of work. I've been playing in a league. So I train every morning now in Battlegrounds off stream. So I've been putting a lot of time and effort into it recently. But it's super fun. I enjoy it. There needs to be more leagues.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something we've talked about before, but always good to bring up that there is definitely an appetite for consistent competitive battlegrounds in the community. So if there are people or companies willing to sponsor some leagues and things like that, I think it would do really well, and there's definitely an audience for it as well. So
I agree.
moving on, our first topic, we always start off with our Battlegrounds weekly overview, just kind of saying how we felt this week, any changes, any feelings of Battlegrounds, just to keep ourselves in the right mental. For me personally, I've been playing a lot or so, just trying out new things. Right, Quilboars have kind of been the main topic, I guess, for us in these podcasts for like the past month or so, just because it's been new, and then it was immediately the strongest thing, and now it's been toned down a little bit, but I'm still seeing a lot of Quilboars in the meta. I'm still picking them up, especially the tier 6 ones and the tier 5 ones. At times those really can swing games if you get them early, or even if you can just stack blood gems on a couple of them. So I still like Quilboars. I still think the meta is relatively good. There's a couple like little issues, but there always has been since the game has been released. How about you, Shady?
It's been good. It's just been some things here and there. Like something in particular, like Alec here has been like really good for me. Just like
Right.
really good because it seems, especially when Beasts are in, it seems like so incredibly easy to make a big Hydra, either by just playing Shaker and just saying, all right, just gem, big ass cleave, kill 5 things,
Yeah.
GG. Or just oh, I had a brute and I just swapped gems. So overall, it's been good. Been doing well, and it's been the usual. Just either triple into a flat tusk or play tier 4. Pretty much for me. That's been the formula. What about you,
Yeah.
Slissa?
Yeah, it seems like such a tier 4 or tier 6 meta. If you can't get to a tier 6 early, you gotta stand for and ground shaker comp and find divine shields for it. Otherwise, you're gonna be a little bit too exposed. So divine shields and ground shaker. Though there's been a couple games where I have weirdly played this old school Lightfang brand comp.
I
And
like
I
to
always get
hear that.
so I get so confused, like, what am I doing? Like, is this actually working? And it has a few times, but it's always kind of like a fun
Experiment.
memories when it, when it happens. Like, oh, I forgot this can still kind of work if you have the right situation. Um, but yeah, I feel like for the I've gotten to something that I don't know if you guys have tested a lot is Soul Juggler comp is actually quite decent when everyone's forcing ground shaker comp. because those minions are easily killable because they're not building their health like they would be with Flat Tusk and the Thorn Curse.
Yeah, it's definitely a good counter to that particular comp. Just same thing with taunt comp, right? Like if people are running taunt comp, you run jugglers and you smack them silly because they don't have any stats. So with the introduction of minions that just buff attack, right, with the arm and the ground shaker, right? So jugglers can do a lot of work, especially if you have a golden one early or you're playing Rena or something, and you just like she's like top 2 or something like that with
exactly. Exactly.
I think that's very cool. It's definitely something I've noticed. I don't like willingly go jugglers or say like this is my comp, but sometimes I get a bad start and I see like juggler and prisoner. I'm like, all right, I know what I'm doing this game, and then I beat everyone or I beat like half the lobby. I'm just like, yeah, I'll take that.
And it's still good to triple into a 4 with it. It's still fine to triple into a 5 with it because of Void Lord and Void Lord with the Karaji Harbinger is so good too that there's a lot of like decent second place way. It's easily a second place comp, which you should be happy about getting a second place. So
Shady is a Harbinger abuser. You mentioned that card and he's like, yes.
Did he smile?
That's about half my games. Like I'm like, all right. Like anytime I don't hit Harbinger, no parries. Let's go.
Get the 2/2 taunt and a Harbinger in the same shop, and you're like, whoa, tempo.
Well, so many of my boards are pretty much just a Divine Shield and then 2 of those 2/2s and Harbinger in the back. That's it.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, a Battle Master or another Void Lord or whatnot.
Or Mama, come on, Shady.
I mean, but that's late, right?
That's me. If I'm doing Harbinger, I had a game.
Collins moves into Harbinger on tier 6, right? When he just buys the Mama from the shop straight away.
That's something I've done yesterday. I didn't know what I was doing, so I was like, okay, Mama Harbinger. All right, I have my direction, And I'm buying 2/2s on the tier 6 shop, and I'm just like, what am I doing? Yeah, but it happens from time to time. Anyways, next topic we have here is the patch. Of course it is.
There's a patch. What?
Yeah, Blizzard released a patch 20.4. It's coming out today, so there's been a couple of interesting changes. That's probably going to be the bulk of this particular podcast, since there's a lot of like different things within the patch, but can be its own topic. But generally, it's not the biggest patch, right? It's not like a whole new archetype or anything. Just a couple adjustments, a couple of changes. But I still think they're interesting. I didn't know this patch was coming out, actually.
No, none of us.
Yeah. Right? This came from left field, right? I was streaming yesterday, and someone's like, "Hey, patch notes are out," and I'm like, "What? What do you mean patch notes? What patch notes?"
I wasn't looking for them. I just assumed, it's a mini set. It's for standard, so Battlegrounds is getting nothing. Like that was what in my head, at least.
Yeah. So I was a little bit surprised to look over the patch, and there was a couple of like interesting tidbits. I was like, okay, I'm gonna have some things to talk about today due to this patch. So I think we can get straight into the meat into it. I think first thing we'll talk about are the heroes. So they're adding two more heroes into the pool. So we can kind of just talk about what the minions are, what the heroes are, what they do, right? So the first one's called Mutanus the Devourer. And the hero power, you get to remove a friendly minion, and then you split that stats into another. So I'm pretty sure that means another friendly minion. At first I was confused whether it could hit like things in the tavern or things, but I think another means another friendly minion. And then you get 1 gold. So we can probably talk about the heroes one at a time, right? This one kind of reminds me of Sylvanas from way back when, right? Where you would remove a friendly minion and then you would buff the side minions by +1/+1. The one like Savannah didn't see that much play. I play a little bit. I thought it was okay, but the real issue is that you're losing that gold every time you did it with Sylvanas. So you it was a drawback. Here you are getting that gold back, so it's more of a passive than an active ability. It's more of a passive buff something. Whenever you're gonna sell, instead of selling, you can just use this ability. So I think it's definitely gonna be a lot better. Not a little bit, but a lot better than Sylvanas, and I definitely will be playing this one and seeing how busted it can be. My immediate reaction is like buying a Battle Master and then eating that and just being like, haha, here's 30 health for free minions.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing though is that you don't get to target who it hits. You get to target who you're selling, but not who gets the buff.
Yeah, but I feel like if you got to target, it would be so nuts, right? Like it would be it would be so strong. So I think that's more of like a balance concern where you're like, you have a cleave and you're like, okay, my 30/30 minion insta the cleave, right? Immediately, no drawback. Like I'm just like, just having a full board of like 6 cleaves with 30 attack, like I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, and I mean, you could definitely kind of make it so that you're somewhat targeting, like sell everything off first that isn't like a divine shield or something, and then hero power it last. So it definitely will take into account a lot of ordering skills, and you can't just play it super autopilot, I would say.
Right.
You have to use a bit of brain power.
I'm always not a fan of that, so maybe won't be a favorite
Hate
of my hero.
thinking.
Yeah.
Vol'jin has way more brain power than I thought.
Me too. Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was gonna be such an easy hero, and then every time I play him, my brain breaks. I'm like, oh my god,
Yeah.
what am I doing?
I completely agree. Every time I'm playing Vol'jin and I get like a blood gem usage and like I get like a good start where I'm using blood gems and stuff like that, and I'm like, okay, how do I abuse this? And I'm just like, oh my god, my turn. I I'm just like, oh no. It's I still need to work on that hero. Is what I would say. What about
I
you,
just
Shady?
stopped using the hero power late game with Vol'jin. If it's not something easy, like ground shake is great, right? You just get the swap, buff. But late game, I just use it as an early game hero power and something obvious like Hydra, and afterwards, and chat goes nuts, right? Like, oh my god, you could have swapped. It's like it's not worth my time. Just play it. I can't play the Vol'jin game and the actual game, you know.
When I was playing it on the China Gold series, I'm playing it at 7 a.m. with lag, and I'm like, all right, it's not worth my time to try and figure out what to hero power. I just stopped doing it mid game and only did it early and late game. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, when it's like super obvious, sure. Yeah, about Mutanus, he doesn't feel good to me. But
Really?
maybe I'm
Okay.
maybe I'm missing something because I'm thinking when do you use this in the early game? Bit weird because your curve is sort of like maybe people make a cool Mutanus curve, right? Where you can somehow use that gold, but it feels like you're going to be buying minions and then you're not going to be shooting them and floating a gold, most likely, right? So then when do you start using this? 8 gold, maybe?
Well,
Like
it would not punish you for not having a token on turn 1. Also, how does the text read? If you were to hero power the 1/2 Quilboar, do you still get the
No,
2 gems?
I don't
it's
think
a
so.
sell, I think.
Does it say
Bacon
sell?
Guys says sell, yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of well, Sylvanas, right? Like a lot of people are like, oh, maybe you can trigger death rattles, blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah, and none of that worked. So I'm assuming it's going to be the same here since it also said remove.
I mean,
Oh,
I
does
could
it
be
say
wrong.
remove or sell?
It says remove a friendly minion. Yeah.
I see. I could see it being okay in the early game with not punishing you for not having a token, but then again, you can't use it till.
So you're saying you
Yeah.
buy a 1-drop and then on 5 gold you buy something, shoot your 1-drop, buy another thing from the shop, and you transfer say +2/+2 to some. So it's kind of like it's kind of like a guaranteed bacon start in that, where if you can get a 2/2 like a hyena, it's kind of like bacon relaxer. It's pretty much exactly bacon relaxer, right? Yeah.
Or it also allows you to on 7 gold be able to level roll and get a 3-drop. And you just have
Those small
so
things, kind of like most
it's like
dormers.
exactly. There's just like little ways you can get slightly ahead and still keep the stats. So I don't think it's terrible.
Anytime I see minions like this, I always think, how are people going to use this to hyper level? That's like, how are they using this to hyper level? So they're just gonna levels, eat something, sell another thing, buy something in the shop or something.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah, that's all I'm seeing.
Well, we haven't gotten to it yet, but there's a minion that's going to be encouraging hyper leveling.
Yes, there is, but I'm not happy to see that.
No,
But
it's already an issue of the hyper leveling.
yeah, so it looks like me and Slysssa are more like positive on this hero, and Shady Bunny's a little bit more negative, where he doesn't see how exactly it's gonna work cleanly in a curve, which I think is a viable justification. I think the late game, broken buffs that can be hit, right? You if like let's say you're playing Brand or something, and I said the same thing with Vol'jin though, so maybe that didn't work out. So
Well,
maybe,
there's some amazing scenarios, of course, but I feel like a lot of the time you're going to be. It's the same thing with Vol'jin, right? You're having fun, you're swapping, and
yeah,
somebody has a comp, and you're like, "Oh crap!"
yeah, it didn't work
Like,
exactly.
I was trying to set up my little meme, and you have a flat tusk and an ag. Oh, that's not good.
Another thing about the new hero, I think it will be better for late game, because late game sometimes it feels so bad to have to sell one of your biggest minions just to get an attack card, but you
Yeah.
have to get an attack card, right?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
now you'll feel a bit better about selling one of your biggest minions to get in that tech because you're not as punished.
Yeah, I have 2 Caligoses, right? And then I have, 6 dragons or 7 dragons. I'm just like, this is so sad. I feel so sad. I can't, sell a dragon to buff, to play my battle cries. Now I can just eat it and then continue double Caligos
it lands
buffing.
on Nadina, and then you're really happy.
I don't have a Nadina,
Oh,
or
okay,
if it lands on Nadina next turn, I eat the Nadina, and then we're good. Yep, that's my.
It feels like
logic.
such a Collins thing. Right? Like, yeah, I really need help once I have double Caligos on my board because those games are so rough.
I'm
Such
just
a
giving
challenge.
you a situation I find myself in all the time.
Always have 2 Caligos.
I think you're gonna like this hero for sure. Yeah. Like no value lost. Collins gonna be like, stats. Oh, they're staying.
Yes. Another thing, now that you bring up Vol'jin, is you can buff a minion and then switch it, right? Like so with ground shakers and stuff like that, right? You pump, then eat it, right? You get that, you get all that pump value immediately. So now that you mentioned Vol'jin, that's another way of utilizing that kind of hero. But let's move on to the second hero of the patch, Guff Rune Totem. One thing I want to mention, Rune Totem, is that like a hidden, like, what we're our next minion type, is that like a little, like, hidden under the scenes, like they reveal it and you're like, you should have looked at the hero names that we were telling you. I noticed it. But regardless from that, the hero power is give a friendly minion of each tavern tier +2/+1. So it's kind of similar to I would say Wag Toggle and like Tyrion in a way, where you're buffing minion qualities, right? But Wag Toggle is different minion types. Tyrion is all neutrals. This one is Tavern tier, which I think is the most unique or the weirdest one out of all of them, right? Because it doesn't tell you exactly how you're going to utilize this, right? But there are a lot of different ways to utilize it. However, it seems hard to do it. I'm definitely less positive on this hero than I would say than Mutanus, to be fair.
It costs 1 gold, right?
Yeah, it costs 1 gold.
So it encourages you to level to 3 on 6 gold. Because on 6 gold, it's 5 to level, and then you could use 1 to hero power. It might encourage a slight hyper level in that sense.
I think you have to hyper level if you want to use this hero power early, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not using the hero power early. But then, if you're not using the hero power early, you're not gonna keep a 1-drop most likely. You're not gonna keep a 2-drop most of the time, right? There's not that many 2-drops that you're gonna keep for most of the game, right? 3 and up, maybe, right? You can like deflect a butcher and like dragon divine shooter and elemental divine shield, right? 3 plus, right? Those are where you start keeping minions till the end of the game, right? But if you're not utilizing that 1 or 2 tavern tier slot, then it kind of the benefit starts falling off a little bit. However, I mean, even if you're buffing like 2 minions or 2 good minions, right? That's still plus, 2 health plus 4 attack. It's not absolutely useless, but it seems more complicated to cleanly get exactly what you need that you're gonna keep till the late game.
Yeah, it's like whack toggle-esque, right? Where I think that the standard indeed is just gonna be like buy and then 4 gold, just straight up level, and then 5 gold you either roll buy or buy roll. Then 6 gold, like Slysssa says, you just level because it's 5 gold to level in hero power. And then I don't think you're gonna level straight away again because what are the odds that you get like a 4 the turn you arrive on 4 where you can just buy hero power? I don't know. Like that doesn't happen a lot.
So
for me.
on 6 gold, you'll level hero power. 7 gold, you'll probably double buy.
It
hero
feels like
power.
double buy to me. Yeah, I don't
And-
think you want to level again, but of course I don't know.
And you hope you get a 3.
You should have a 3. Yeah, okay. But that does happen, right? Bob does go like 3 drops. Sorry, there's no 3 drops here.
That's my experience, so I'm just saying. And then 8 gold. What's the cost? Is it 5? 5 gold to level?
Yeah.
So but you can't level roll get a 4. So you'd either level buy, or you'd like level. You could level buy, sell hero power. I don't know. It gets complicated at that point, right? It depends on what you hit. But that might probably be the curve. Most likely, just go to 3 early, a turn early, and then use your hero power, and then go from there and adjust. But you will get like 2 hero powers early. I think that might give you, like, depending on what you buy, you might be strong enough to not take damage and then like maybe use that early leveling to go from there. So it might not actually be horrible. And you might be able to use it early if you get the right hits. So
yeah. If it had 2 health, 1 attack, I would say this hero is great.
Yeah.
But with the 2 attack, 1 health, it's not. It's like very different. I feel like the health is way more important, especially in the early game. And tempo heroes is all about early game. So I would say it's hard to say without the being 2 health, 1 attack.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about this hero. I think it could be good if people find like the perfect curve for it and the perfect way to utilize the hero. But I think it's complicated in that tavern tier minions, like buffing every tavern tier minion, is a complicated way of balancing what you're gonna look for, right? It's like, okay, I'll look for this particular 1 minion on tavern tier 1. I'll look for this particular minion on tavern tier 3. I'll look for these divines on 4, etc., right? That's not consistent, right? And a lot of the tier 1 minions you're going to be picking up, right, you're not going to keep. So you'll buff a tier 1 minion for like 2 turns, and then like later on you're just going to sell it and be like, I don't know why I bothered. Same thing with the tier 2 minions most of the time, right? Tier 3s, right, you got to hit the right, you got to get lucky, right? Dragons and mechs have to be in, and then you have to hit those, and then you have to see, do I want to keep them? Am I going menagerie or something like that? Or am I just like transitioning into some other random composition, right? Because a lot of the comps, or a lot of the comps, they all use like the same tavern tier, they're all tavern 4 minions, or they're all tavern 6, or a 6 and a 5, It's not like you're using like a tier 1 and a tier 2 and a tier 3 and a tier 4 into this like perfect comp that requires a tier 2 minion. It's like, I'd rather just have a bunch of tier 5s, or a bunch of tier 6s, or a bunch of tier 4s, right? So it's hard to figure out what is the comp that I'm gonna run with this hero that utilizes tier 1s really well, utilizes tier 2s really well, utilizes tier 3s really well, and perfectly lets me level into it cleanly, right? And that might exist. Maybe no one has figured it out yet, or this hero might be the necessary requirement to build that composition, right? But I don't know it yet, so I'm not going to pretend, oh, yes, that's going to happen. But it could, so who knows the future, right? After you play with it a little bit, you might have a different or a better idea of how to actually utilize it, but right now, I don't know.
Yeah. It reminds me so much of when we did the custom lobbies.
Yeah, oh, dude.
And we would have that as a rule in our custom lobby. You can only have up to 1 minion per tavern tier.
Yeah, and it's...
that was challenging.
And
that was a hard rule.
And those games have weaker board states, right? Like that's one thing to keep in mind, right? Even when we're trying to do it manually, right? Those board states, if you just played normal, your board would be significantly stronger than than doing this janky thing plus extra stats. So I think
it worked with Macaw comp.
That's what I was thinking, because Macaw's like the 3 that really does a lot, right? And you can run Goldrin, and then you can run like Tavern 1 Beasts, and it's fine. So
yeah, Macaw comp can do 1 of each.
Yeah, so I think that's
Yeah. But then you're thinking about the late game, right? Where I feel like this has to be relevant early.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, I guess if you have a Macaw comp with a Goldrin, you don't care.
Yeah, right. You're there, right? You're there. It's like, oh my god, gets +2/+1. That's insane.
Yeah,
that's true. But theoretically, Macaw's the 3, Hydra's the 4, right? Baron's the 5, Goldrin's the 6.
Yeah.
And then what's on 2 and 1? Like whatever, right? It doesn't matter on 2 and 1.
Hyena and Rabid Sorreless.
Yeah, Sorreless and Hyena, exactly. You're right. And then bam, that's how much value is that per turn? That's plus 12 attack, 6 health. Wow, a turn. That's like half an Agam buff. You know, like it's pretty good. But yeah, I don't know. So it seems we're all like not super positive on this one, right? So
yeah.
All right, so maybe we're thinking Mutanus is going to be a little bit better than Guff, but that's our current thoughts without playing it at all, without play testing or anything like that. But we have to see in game how it actually performs. But it looks like I will try both of the heroes. I will mention that. I will at least play it once. That's what I give myself. I give a 1 game bracket, and then based on how I feel off of that 1 entire game, I will dictate whether I played it for the rest months, the next 3-4 months.
Wow. 1?
I give every hero 1 game,
And you call yourself a content creator.
That's the content I provide, that 1 game. But yeah, overall, I do think the heroes are interesting. They're not they're not like super unique, and they're like more adjustments of like previous iterations, but they seem more they have a unique twist, right? Being able to keep your gold and being able to buff tavern tiers. That's not been a function before where you're like, I'll buff it. Oh well, I guess Rakanishu, right, has a tavern tier mechanic where you buff stronger based on what tavern tier you're in. But other than that, interesting minions. I mean, interesting heroes. Moving on to the minion, we have Hexruin Marauder. So when I looked at this hero, I guess at the end of your turn, if you have 6 or fewer minions, gain +3/+3. When I looked at this minion, I was like very confused. Personally, I'm like, who's using this? Except for hyper levels, right?
Because everyone's trying to triple into a 4 early, and that is an encouraging triple into 4 early card.
Yeah, so what happens is you triple into 4, and then next turn you're like, well, I can't buy minions. 'Cause
Well,
let me
Well,
just
who
level.
cares, right? You don't have a full board anyway, right? At that
yeah,
point,
you
if
wouldn't
you
you wouldn't
triple
have
into
a full
4.
board, and then the next turn you eat it because it's a demon, and it's
Ah.
grown like 2 turns, and then you can full board. It's very specific, but
Yeah, man, I've asked Blizzard to do something about having less minions than your opponent, right? I wanted it that you could attack first if you had less minions, but they didn't like it. So it's just weird that they're like baiting people into running less minions now. They're like, okay, just run 6 now. Here, now we'll give you a +3/+3 buff. I think late game you're never, well, not never, but it's very rare you'll be picking this up and then running 6 minions late game, because you
yeah.
in the mid to early to mid game, right? Like, people don't necessarily always have a full board, and having a full board isn't that like necessary. But once you hit the late game, going first can be the difference between winning or losing, right? So many games I'm like, oh, if I went first, I won. You know?
Yeah.
But now I take 20, you know. So it's just like, so I see people picking this up late, like, you know, people that don't know what they're doing. They're like, oh, I'll just sell some random card and then I'll have my 3/3 buff, and then they take 50 or something, and they're like, what happened?
Yeah, but this card can only be played super early, and then eventually will stop growing. But
See, but the thing is, it's like people are gonna have this card in their board, and they're just like, "Well, I just sell my 1/1. I just sell my 2/2. It's fine. Like, I'll just do it. You know, I'll just waste a gold. I'll sell my 1/1. It's fine." And then then it's just like, oh yeah. I mean, I don't know if that was worth my friend, like, but it encourages you to do that, and I just find that so peculiar as a card, right? It just it almost can throw for you in a way where you're just like, who cares about going first? I'll just sell a minion. It's fine. And then you take a lot. So I don't know. I do think it will see play, especially if you get it early, right?
Yeah.
But past that point, it feels like a bait where some people are like, I don't know what to do, and then they see 2 copies of this, and you're just like, all right, sell, bye, let's hope. And the next turn, they're like, well, do I want to still run 6? You know, they're like, oh, maybe I will. And then they're just running 6 minions the whole game. And I'm just like, okay, I mean, maybe it is the line. But yeah.
I mean, I feel like you
Yeah.
definitely do it into, like, it just allows you the power level. It's like, oh, well, I could just level this turn. I'm still gaining. And, I'll just play down a minion because, well, you just have to, because if you're leveling, you're not spending your money on minions. I just think it encourages power leveling, and then it switched out. And then you just eat it and it's gone. But the question I have is, people are saying that it's good with Yasiraj, but I don't see how it's good with Yasiraj. Am I missing something?
Oh, because you hero power, right? And you'll have 6 minions. So
Yeah,
then,
but then it puts it back in your hand.
no, but
No,
then-
when you already have it and you go for the let's say it's your 4, right? And then you go for the 5, you'd have an empty board slot anyway.
Oh,
So even though your combat will have 7 minions,
okay.
yeah. So you cheese the grow.
Okay, I see what they're saying. I was thinking that people meant like on the turn you got it. I was like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, I think this minion you can compare, like, not exactly Wrathweaver, of course, because they're different types, but in terms of thinking of how to play with the minion, for me, this is a Wrathweaver-esque minion where it allows me to do stuff early, like most of the time, be strong and level. And then it's not because I have a Wrathweaver later in the game on my board that I'm like, oh shit, I need to keep buying demons. So it's the same thing here. Oh, this guy is big, whatever. Just keep him and run 7, right? And then, devour him if you can, or sell them when you would sell a Wrathweaver. So it feels pretty similar that it's just a tool, a means to an end, where it's a big thing on the board. It's a bunch of stats. Stats can help me for a while, and when the stats are no longer useful, you can sell them, or Soul Devour and then turn it into a menagerie thing or whatnot. So I don't think you should keep a 6 board for too long, but just abuse it while you can, while it makes sense, but don't pivot into it or anything like that.
it reminds me of how I play when I get an early gold grubber. That's what it reminds me. When I get an early gold grubber, I'm like, with like double token triple, so it's plus 4/+4. I'm like, you know what? I'm just leveling. Like, I don't care. I'm probably stronger than them. I'm only gonna take 5 if I lose, right? I'm just leveling. So I feel like that's probably how you want to be using this card, right? If you can get it really early, just utilize it to level, get to 4, get to 5, maybe 6 if you're feeling frisky, but then once you're there, you don't really need to care about the card, right? It'll be like let's say like a 12/12 or 12/15, right? Which turn 7 is pretty good, right? It's probably going to be one of your bigger minions. So it's just like a means to level without taking too much damage. However, I think like people level already, so it's like annoying that they added this, because I'm like, I don't want to lose to someone power leveling when I'm not. And, and it's just like, if they have like 2 copies of this, I'm losing. And I'm just like, no. So that's my issue. It kind of reminds me of the blacksmith, right? If the blacksmith was in and they leveled and they got that, they just win, and they're power leveling and they're winning, and it's just like, ow, that doesn't feel helpful.
All right. So consensus, good for leveling. Don't keep it too long, or at least don't keep 6 units too long.
Yeah, don't turn 10, buy it, and be like, I'll just run 6 now. Like, I don't think that's the way. But early game, you get it early, you triple into it, use it to level. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. All right. Next topic we have is, since they added a new demon on 4, they murdered Siegebreaker. So any thoughts on this? I don't think we'll have too much to think about, but I personally didn't really care for Siegebreaker all that much. So it was good for Juggler, I guess.
Yeah,
for Juggler, right? You wouldn't really play it for Juggler.
Yeah. I mean, they had to remove something so that the pool of cards doesn't get diluted.
They
make it harder
actually
to get triple.
They actually have not been that good about keeping the ratios the same. Sometimes they remove cards and they add a bunch of cards, and it doesn't like even out to what it was before. So I was like kind of surprised that they did it for this, but I don't mind it at all.
I think it makes sense. They're like pretty similar minions in terms of just like, just a dude, right? Just like, now, obviously this one is scaling, so this one is better than Siegebreaker, it feels.
Remove a boring minion with a slightly less boring minion.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea though. Like in terms of like changing things or balancing things, right? There's a lot of there's a couple boring minions, right? If you can adjust them, make them like what's that one card? Mekaru, right? Into Micro Mummy. That was really nice, right? It's very similar effects, right? But one is like, oh, Mekaru, I'm like, I don't care about this card. Micro Mummy, I'm like, oh, I love it. So I do like those kind of changes where they adjust minions that don't have like a key role and give them some type of functionality to make them a little bit more interesting or a little bit more useful in specific compositions. So.
Or like Righteous Protector replacement with the 2/2. The 2/2 is a lot better because of the Kuraji Harbinger. Better with that.
Righteous Protector is the 1/1 Divine Shield, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I actually felt sad about that because sometimes I would like run that with like Darald or something, and
it would have been too strong because it came out with Cthulhu, and if it would have been too strong, so they took it out.
That's why.
Mm-hmm.
That's why. That's a good point. Yeah. And that would have been fun. You would just stay on 1, wouldn't you? You would just stay on 1 and just hero power Cthulhu all day with like 50.
Can you imagine? Everyone keeps asking that they want Tyrion back. Tyrion would be way too strong because of taunt comp. Tyrion taunt comp would be so broken.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know if it'd be broken. It'd be okay.
What? Okay, sure.
I don't think it would be the strongest thing. I think there are a lot of comps I can make that easily run over that, so I wouldn't.
1/1 poison, so big. In the talk.
Yeah, I mean, it would be good. I do think taunt comp would be good with Tyrion, but I wouldn't mind it. Like taunt comps get like third or second a lot. If taunt comp gets first a couple times, I would like that's fine for me. I wouldn't cry about it.
Build your taunt comps different, Collins, if you're not getting first on a regular basis. Come on, man. Killed
Shit.
2 Agam fucking flat tusks today with taunt comp. I was like, yes, get cheersed.
That's the shady way.
Am I
Anyways,
the only one here who hates taunt comp? I hate taunt comp.
I love it. I'm sorry.
Oh my
Shady
God.
has influenced me. I used to hate it, and then Shady influenced me, so now I don't
I
hate it.
just started playing it like last week.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That explains that, yeah.
I've avoided it forever.
It's
Come to the dark side, so come on, just rob these
Oh.
scalers. Just stay on 4 forever.
I hate it.
I understand how you're feeling, Slysssa. I was there too at the beginning. I was there, and then I tried it a couple of times, and I'm like, huh, okay, this is working. All right, Shady's onto something, you know. I definitely felt that pain at the beginning. I'm like, why am I losing to this? But yeah, anyways, moving on from Siegebreaker, we have got Quilboars not in every game now. So I think that's probably one of the biggest changes, if not the biggest changes this patch, that you're not going to see Quilboars in every single game. You're not going to see Flatus Agam every single game. You know, it's going to be a little bit more interesting. What are the most important, like the most notable things to think about when Quilboars aren't in the game, right? Because sometimes when this happened with Pirates, when Pirates got removed, I was like, wow, this actually changes. There's a little bit that changes. I was like, oh, I don't get that gold generation. I don't get the Swabby starts. I don't get the gold grubber as my answer on 4 if I have to get a 4 drop or things like that. There were a lot of like little things that I didn't notice until the Pirates were gone. That now when I think, oh, Pirates are gone, I'm like, oh, okay, this I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. Where I haven't thought about it for Quilboars, right? I think like for me the most important thing is like 6s are now a little bit worse. I
think 5 drops. People might have like a Bran on their board again, a Bran and a Light Fang.
Yeah. Another thing is that with Quilboars, if you were going Menagerie, Beasts were also in, right? So that happened with Agam, where you'd go Agam and then you'd play the Beast variant as well. Even if Beasts weren't in, just because the Quilboars added the 5-drop Beast as well. So that's something to think about as well.
I think you're right when you say 6 drops for sure. Like in a game where Quilboars and Pirates aren't in, like why am I pulling a 6 all of a sudden? Like
Cause Caligos, man.
Yeah, that might be a thing again, right? But I don't know. Maybe the tempo. Maybe Cali's fine then, right? In those games where people aren't scaling so fast. But I feel like tempo comps might still be better. Of course, there's gonna be one person that hits the nuts and scales, right? But I don't know. It feels like
raising my
I'm
hand.
yeah, sure. Colin's like, yep, high roller
That's
presence.
me.
Tier 6, yeah. So my initial approach probably will be to not really push for 6s if Quilboars and Pirates are out, because no Eliza
and Elementals are in, right, as well.
Yeah, Ellie's dilute the pool a lot as well, so that's the nightmare comp for 6s.
That
for
is
sure.
something you have taught me, actually. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I could get a 6, and I'm like, well, Elementals, Pirates are out. Let's get something else. I actually start doing that. I'm like, and every time I'm like, this is Shady's fault.
You can't get a Genie, you can't get a Gar, you can't get a Rag. So that's improves your odds significantly. What do you think, Slysssa? What's like the big things that shift when Quilboars are out?
I feel like a lot of the time it's like, okay, we're just gonna go for 4-drop comp and go for Divine Shields and the Shaker comp, and that's not gonna be a thing anymore. But you can still do the taunt comp thing. I feel like 5 drops will be better again, just tripling to 3 and 5. I I'm back into Bran and Light Fang. I wonder if Nomi will be better again. Probably not, but I do think Arana will be better, like the Arana elemental thing. That was hard to do with Quilboar because it's Quilboar scales so early fast with their attack, so the rock taunt isn't as good. But with them not being in, that will be back kind of on the plate. So I also wonder too if like Kaligos, I feel like in the recent meta, you really can't go Kaligos comp unless you're playing a power level hero and you have 2 triples into 2 6s. Yeah. You have to hit Kali or Kali Nadina early, and now you might just be able to hit 1 Kali and be able to pull it off.
Yeah, we talked about that last podcast where Kaligos felt really bad unless you got it super early or you had a bunch of dragons already. But even if you like turn 7 get a Kaligos and you have no dragons, it's actually not strong enough because people scale just as fast, even faster if they have flat toss Agam. So
yeah,
maybe without Quilboars you'll be able to just like 1 Kali make it.
Yeah, I really feel like I never go Kali unless I'm playing like Hook Tusk or Rafam or Maiev or Omu, where I have a second, or I guess not really. Well, Omu you can just level, but like the Hook Tusk, you're like, well, I have 2 more pairs and I can easily triple a second one, so I'll get a second Kaligos or Nadina quite fast, so it's okay. For other heroes, like a tempo-based hero, you can't do that, and it just felt too bad.
Yeah, it's oh man, getting non hyper leveling heroes, my friends.
Oh, imagine not playing a hyper level hero.
Dude, like more than half my games, I'm just like, why do I have to play like Patchwork? Oh no,
that's a hyper level hero. Just get a token level to 4.
Yeah, I guess that's one way of looking at that hero, but yeah,
it is a way to look at it.
Speaking
I
of,
think a hero that. Oh, yeah,
go for it. I was gonna switch topics.
Sure. I think the like Jandis might suddenly see like a spike again, where a lot of the time those, well, first of all, double token lobbies are a bit more common when Quilboars are out.
Right, that's true.
And when you hit the light, let's say you hit the double Light Fang start or the Light Fang Mithrax start and Quilboars are out, you don't have to constantly look behind like, are they here yet? Is the Agam guy catching up to me? Are my stats good enough? So now it feels probably way better to play Jandis and get 2 5-drops, and you hit those scaling units. You're like, ooh, this is actually really good. I can actually just take that all the way to the end.
Yeah. When I have like double Light Fang and I'm losing, I'm just like, yeah. Yeah. But speaking of hyper leveling heroes, right back into it. It looks like Maiev, our poor Maiev, she's being removed.
Oh no! What? Who did this?
Removed from the hero pool. One thing is, look at the look how much I treat like Maiev compared to Siegebreaker. Oh man, but poor Maiev, she's being removed. I was a little bit surprised to hear this news personally. I was like, oh, like I didn't feel like she was that big of a problem or anything like that. Yeah, she was strong, obviously.
She's a huge problem, but it's not just her. It's her and her friends, Hook Tusk and Jandis. Like, they're not buddies in causing this issue.
Yeah, but it feels like she's like taking the shot, like for all of them.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like she is the one who is best able to utilize switching out all of her minions for 5s and 6 really fast and can pummel the most damage early. Yeah. Where all of a sudden it's turn 8 and you're taking 30 to 40 and you're like, how did you just get that much damage on your board so fast? Where the other heroes don't do it as quickly, where they're not pummeling the damage as bad, but there's still an issue. I still think they need to be taken down a notch, or some other heroes need to be boosted a bit. Right. Or change the tiers of certain minions so that the it's not as power level meta, or reduce damage of tokens.
Yeah, it seems like a bit of a deeper issue, right? Than just now.
Yeah.
For sure. Now,
Or
I
have
think
max damage turns. If they
Yeah.
did max damage turns, then that would change. I'll fix it, but
we like I talk about it on my stream as well. When you talk about taking 10, that doesn't even feel that much given how much you can take, but that's 1/4 of your starting life total.
yeah.
Like you can take that 4 times and you're dead. And 10 doesn't feel insane, right? With the amount of times that you're like, oh, I took 27 and I died. Like that's insane in a game where your starting total is 40. But
The
Yeah.
worst
it's a
feeling,
whole can of worms. So, yeah.
the worst feeling is you're like 23 or something HP, and then you lose and you take exactly 23, and then it's like a 50-50 hit. Like you're like, okay, so if I go left here I win, or I don't take 23. If I go right I'm dead. And it's just like, missed a 50-50, guess I'm dead. I was in like first place with 23 or something. That happened to me yesterday actually. I was in first place with like 22 HP or something like that, and I died one shot, and I was just like, I don't want to play.
Yeah, that's such a bad feeling.
Yeah,
It's so different compared to other auto battlers.
Right.
If you look at
TFT or
TFT, you
something.
start with so much more health, and you just slowly lose it over time. That it feels like it's not as punishing. But yeah, in battlegrounds, you could be in first, and 2 turns later, just be dead and be like, wait, I was just in first and I lost in 2 turns? Like, how did this happen?
Yeah, the amount of games that happen is not uncommon, I guess. Like almost every day, where you're like very ahead, and then someone has the nuts, right? Some Maiev or Rafam or something is there, and their minions are all 6 drops. Or how fun you fight a boat, one boat, that's all it takes, a boat cat guard, and then you're dead. So yeah, I do think that is definitely something we should talk about. We probably will talk about in one of the later topics, but Maiev's being removed, I'm sad for it. I like the hero. Hero is fun to play, right? And I wouldn't necessarily like. It was kind of hard to like having fun heroes. Like that can be tough, like to design. I think, and I think this definitely was one, especially like considering how she was at the beginning, right? Where the only thing they changed was that you can have a full board available in your shop, right? Like instead of like initially, if you dormanted a minion, right, that locks out the minions you're able to see previously, right? So turn 1 if you dormant, right, and next turn you'd only see 2 minions, right, instead of 3, and that was a huge change, right? Because it dramatically lowered how easy it was to triple and find like pairs and tokens and stuff like that, right? But that one change, right, it was all it took for this hero to go from like unplayable to like top of the class. So definitely fun hero, surprisingly designed, unfortunately overpowered because people didn't realize you could level and hyper level and get super early like tavern 5s and 6 minions. But I like the hero. Sad to see it go. You will be missed, I would guess. Unlike Siegebreaker. But yeah, next topic we have going on is we were talking about Maiev and overpowered and strong heroes, right? But there are a lot of like underplayed heroes that you don't want to see, don't want to pick up, right? There's quite a number of them, and Blizzard hasn't really touched them in a way, hasn't really removed them, right? I think they removed like one the last couple of months or something like that, but Shudderwock has not been played for a long time. Jirax had that buff, quote unquote, but then after like a couple of weeks, no one played him anymore. Battlemaster Brand, I think Battlemaster Brand back in Murloc meta used to be playable, where you could maybe get Murloc, get Brand and stuff, and then like do some type of Murloc shenanigans. But with with Murlocs falling out of favor, there hasn't really been a battle master. I mean, not a battle, but a battle cry replacement strategy so that you can easily use a brand. So I don't see a lot of people playing that hero. And Illidan, like I see people playing Illidan, but I'm always confused. Like
They're playing it for achievements. Anytime you see any of these heroes, it's for an achievement.
wow, they're like high rated, dude. They shouldn't care about achievements.
No, I know tons. Bill, my teammate Bill, he's been working on all his achievements, so he plays these heroes. And I'm like, stop playing them, or they won't remove them.
But yeah, I don't know. I always like this actually hero selection I get a lot sometimes. And I groan and I'm like, why is this an option? You know, I paid for my perks. Why is this an option? So it hurts whenever I see these. And what are your thoughts on these heroes and just like them keeping them and not changing them or removing them or anything like that?
I think they should be deleted. Stat.
It's just delete straight up in the bin. All right.
Yeah, I mean, they could put Bran back to how he used to be, and I think he'd be fair. So if you don't remember Bran from the past, it used to be anytime you played a battle cry minion, buff another minion on your board 1/1.
Oh yeah, I like that one. I'm surprised they removed that. I thought that was like really fun.
They thought he was too strong at the time, but I think at the current power level, he would be fine that way. The way he is now, it's just so bad. Yeah. Illidan, if they gave him the slightest buff, he would be actually playable. If they gave the side minions like 1 health or 1 attack or something, or I don't know. He might be playable that way.
Yeah, I think if they gave it like either like a permanent stat buff, like give him 1 attack or 1 health or something, or like if there was like Divine Shield.
Oh God!
Just like a stronger Alikir. I know.
Yeah. if Alikir gets it, I don't see why he doesn't. But I don't think both minions could have Divine Shield. Like, what if like the left one had Divine Shield and the right had?
But then it would just be an Alikir replacement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're just having 2 Alikirs in the game and things like
that.
For Shudderwock Lord. Okay, so I was thinking if they made their abilities passives in some way, like the first battle cry plays twice, or maybe if you don't want it to be that constricted, you could make a 0 cost ability. Same thing with Jiraxis, where you're at the end of your turn buff demons on your board or something, so you don't have to use your hero power, right? I think like if your hero power costs 1, it has to be very valuable. Otherwise, you lose a lot of tempo or something like that. So
yeah, I like costing 0 or passive, or make Edwin's hero power cost 0, make him playable again.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, Edwin was another one. I would that would probably be the next one on there. I didn't put Edwin because like he used to be like really good. It felt bad to put Edwin where Edwin at some point was like my top 2 or top 3 hero. I was just like, yes, give me Edwin every game. And now I'm like underplayed. It just felt so bad. So couldn't put him in there, but he would probably fit, unfortunately. But yeah, I think like there are changes that could be made to these heroes to make them playable or somewhat fun. But they just haven't touched them. Maybe they've tried and felt it was too strong, but I don't know. Like there are a lot of strong heroes that you don't touch. Like you just have Maiev in the game. I mean, she is getting removed, but like Omu's been in the game the whole time. It's pretty consistent, pretty much, and like no changes, right? But these ones, sometimes trying it out for a week or 2, right? And then seeing if it is too strong, and then just reverting them if it's like OP, right? Like I think would be fine, right? I personally always love to see like quick hero adjustments. Like I feel like that would be great, where I don't mind if it's like, we just got this broken hero, I didn't get to play him, like I don't care, like just fix him. immediately, and I'll deal with the adjustments. But sometimes it feels like they want to see how we adapt to the broken heroes or the underplayed heroes and go from there. So yeah.
I wonder because in the first 2 weeks, people without a battle pass can't play the new
Oh,
hero.
yeah.
So if they nerf it right away, then the people without the pass never get to feel the full power of the hero. So
That might actually be a barrier for them quickly adjusting, huh? Like, because 2 weeks have to go by before, so that's almost like a month minimum, right? Before they even like can consider changes based on that. Like, I feel like that's more of a design flaw in the way the perks are set up, where you already know this minion's broken for 2 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, before you can even think about changing it. It's like, oh, we gotta give the non-perk people a chance to play it. Like, that feels really bad, because you're like, okay, this is the strongest hero I've ever seen, and they're like, well, gonna wait a month. Let's just we can't do anything about it. We're just gonna wait a month. It just seems wrong. So I don't know. But that is a good point with new heroes, and how the perk system kind of prevents them from changing it really quickly.
Kitty. Hi. Pet cat.
She says hi. Yeah.
I have a pet balloon.
Yeah, I think it's indeed.
It's not a pet, to be
like
fair. It's equal partnership, but something like that.
Whenever we talk about these things, I feel like it's always so difficult, because you need to balance like what we want versus maybe how Blizzard's wants things to go. Because I would like, obviously, where all the heroes are a bit closer together. Like, I wouldn't really mind if everyone just had a strong hero where it's at least in the gray bow category, where you're like, oh, okay, no, it's not a hook dusk, but sure, right? Like, it's playable and it's strong. But maybe Blizzard wants to preserve that. Oh, look, this is the RNG where you opened a good pack. This is nice. This is your game to shine. You got, the hook dusk, or you got the Maiev before it was removed. So I don't know what the plan here is, or like what the motivator is between keeping all the really bad heroes in, because balance-wise, it seems obviously like a nightmare that someone can open a pack like the heroes are, lined up here. If you open this pack, you just like, and then the best one is like Mexerout, so you can't even sit on tier 4. You're like, okay, well, I'm gonna triple into a Flat Tusker, go next, and usually it's go next. So, from a balance point of view, it's pretty simple to try to get everything closer together. But maybe Blizzard wants to, like somewhat incentivize the perks. I don't know if that's the case, right? I don't know if that's a thing. And at the other time, maybe they want to preserve that feeling of, oh, I got lucky, I got one of the good ones.
A good way to incentivize perks. Make the game fun for everyone. Not like, if there's one sucker in the lobby that gets this, there's always going to be one sad player. You don't want to do that to your player base. You don't want to make people sad that they got these heroes that they don't want to play. If every hero is good, then they want to play. They play more. They're like, you know what? Let's get some perks, But if there's a sucker, sometimes it's me, sometimes it's a person without the perks. Most of the time, it's a person without the perks, right? Because it's not the perks. But if they feel bad, then they're not gonna play it. You want more player base, right? It's better to have a high player base of people that enjoy than to have squeezing out, people shelling out because they don't want to get these heroes choices or something. Anyways, I don't know. I just wanted to talk about this because I'm so tired of getting bad heroes. I'm tired of it. It's the worst, dude. And sometimes I'll have multiple games in a row where these are my choices. There's a curator or something like that. You don't have to pick curator. And I'm just like, yep. And I just feel bad because I know if I lose with these choices, I don't feel like it was like necessarily my fault. It was more like I tried to go for like a top 4 and it wasn't good enough. It's and then like some hyper level has like 5-6 drops, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, I can't do that. Jiraxis does not allow me to level like this. So yeah. Anyways, that's what I want to talk about. But speaking of little changes, last topic we have here is just some of the things that you think could have been looked at this patch, right? It was a small patch, but there's always like little things to think about, things that feels like it could be adjusted, right? I know, Slysssa, you mentioned a lot of those little things earlier where you were talking about, improving the damage formula or improving some of the other power level heroes or things like that. Is there a little bit more? Do you want to clarify on some of the things that you think they could have looked at this patch?
Yeah, I right now, if you don't hit a power level hero, it feels so bad. Especially like Shady said, if you don't hit like Graybo or something that's tempo that's good enough. But so I feel like they need to figure something out. Like, well, why are the power level heroes so good? Well, because they're whacking people for so much damage so early. So how can we reduce this damage? Or can we kind of fix the high tier stuff to be less powerful so that they're not encouraged to level so quickly? Instead, we just threw in a minion that encourages the power leveling. So it feels like we did the opposite. So yeah, I think we need to look at that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The meta has been power leveling for a long time. I would say. I don't know if since the beginning of the game, but definitely, it feels like since Caligos was in, I guess would be my where I felt like, oh, I could get a Caligos, and then the same thing happened. Oh, I could get a Genie, and the same thing happened with Pirates. Oh, I could get an Eliza, and then Quilboars. Oh, I could get Flat Tusk or Charles at the beginning as well. And it just kind of feels like if you're not getting those particular units and you don't have a backup plan, you're kind of falling behind, right? But it's easier to play the game once you get those units, right? So a lot of people like that simplicity of like, I hit this, okay, now I know what to do, right? Where sometimes if you're playing tier 4 comp, you don't know what exactly you're going to do until you hit like that one roll or that one like directional piece where, okay, now I can do what I'm planning to do, right? So I think due to how the simplicity of once you get those pieces, things become smooth compared to just staying Tavern tier 3 or something and going jugglers is a little bit harder if you're not forcing that from the very get-go. It kind of encourages a lot of people to do that, and so I don't know particularly, right, this would be tough, how to adjust that balance, because let's say they did reduce minion damage, wouldn't that like kind of encourage leveling to 6 in a way where it's like, I can only take 10, I'm at 22,
True.
I'll just level, take 10, okay, I'm at tier 6, right? So that's the and another thing they've talked about a lot is that they don't want to increase the how long each game is, right? Like they're very aware of like how long a game is, and they don't want to make it longer, right? So
Yeah,
they would have to shift like time frames, right? Like either adjusting how quick the timer is, right? Because sometimes the timer early is like really long. Or like yeah, but I don't know if that's like necessarily a balanced thing, especially when people are using like old systems and things like that. But another thing is like Flat Tusk Agam, I would say is still pretty dominant, I would say, in a lot of like end game compositions, right? A lot of the people that win are using that combination of pieces, Flat Tusk Agam, and then a bunch of Divine Shields or Cleaves or something like that. And it hasn't really changed, right? So maybe they could take a look at Flat Tusk in particular, right? Balancing the minions kind of happens pretty rarely, unless it's super obvious that this is a problem, right? Those like OP things, but not like super clear that it is a problem, can go under the radar for a long time unless people are like specifically complaining, oh, this is an issue, da da da. But that is something I think they should look at. I don't know if they would change anything in particular, but always been a big fan personally of lowering the minion damage as well as definitely with summoning minions. I've hated Gas Curler. The fact that it just, you kill it and you take more damage. Like same thing with Bo. Like, why am I hitting this minion? Why can't I tell my minions to stop attacking? Don't attack anymore. I'm done.
You should be.
Yeah, we are done with this battle. They have won. I am not opening the boat. Let's leave. They're like, no, sir. I can attack one more, and now I take 22. No, don't do this to me. So I've never been a fan of the minion damage being so dramatic as well, right? So, and it gets exacerbated with Baron and Khadgar, right? Where they just have a Baron and a Khadgar left, and the 50-50 of what they hit determines if you win or lose, or if you survive that battle. And it's just like, yeah. So I definitely would love to see at least a discussion or like a public discussion of why or their thought process or things like that, right? Sometimes Ignar does, but. It's interesting. What about you, Shady? You haven't really mentioned anything.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. Just jumping on what you said, I think a minion should never be able to deal more damage with its death rattle than its initial form. I think it's fair that they don't want to make games go, too slow. So they say, well, this is a tier 6 unit. Its death rattle still does something. I don't want the tokens to deal 1, but if 2 boats pop out, it should still be 6 damage, probably, right? Instead of whatever the 2 boats can produce. That's obviously the worst case result. I don't know if that's Blizzard just saying, well, there's a couple of reasons, right? Like it could be too difficult to implement where you're just like, well, that's so much workaround where, these minions are designed like lower damage, or we need to put a specific cap on it. It could be that they want to keep the game very simple where it says, look, this is Hearthstone, it's not Magic the Gathering. We're not going to have like a stack and all kinds of
I don't
fancy
like
little
that
effects. It's just like you see the thing, it has the stars, it deals the damage, deal with it, right? Simple. We've had it like this. And then there's also the turn, the game timer, like we mentioned earlier. Anything that reduces damage done is probably going to increase the game time. Games need to be fast, quick, fun. Just hop on, hop off. You're never tied up for too long. So that's me thinking, well, these are the things that I would like to see, but then realistically, is that going to fit in, the game we play? Like probably not. So I wouldn't expect those things to change. I think a more realistic change is the Flat Tusk that you mentioned. I think that Flat Tusk should have some kind of a limitation on our gem generation. Now, to keep it simple, once again, you could say, oh, Flat Tusk can only produce X amount of gems per turn or whatnot, but that was maybe a little bit too complicated. A change you could implement is Flat Tusk now only produces gems for gold spent on minions. So, like, one of the things I think that makes Flat Tusk like just even so good, let's say you have a Shaker on the board or even just a good Divine Shield, you hit her while leveling to 5, you can sort of just level to 6 straight after if you have a Shaker. It's just gem the Shaker, get the gems from the leveling. Other than that, you can just keep generating gold. You can keep rolling, and it just adds up where you get this insane amount of gem generation where Agam just takes off like crazy. And if you restrict the gem generation to just minions bought, might be okay, right? Or at least less insane. And people will be more incentivized to, oh, I'm just going to buy from the shop and sell from the shop. And it's not just, oh, I'm just cruising around on tier 6 buying all the insane stuff and all the crazy gem generation.
The Millhouse strat.
Yeah, like you play more like a Millhouse. It's just like, let me empty this thing. Just like buy, sell, right? And that's obviously a lot less powerful than, oh, let me just go, oh, here's just rolling. Oh, there's an Amalgadon, or comps getting, even stronger. So I don't know if that is the way, but something to make it less synergistic with Agam.
That's a pretty big nerf, I would say. It never, like, if the ability was like gain a gem when you buy a minion, right? Essentially is what you're saying. That's a big, you can't roll like your whole board and still feel good. Which I do sometimes with Agam. I mean, with Factus, I just roll my whole board away, and I'm like, yeah. I bought one thing. I got 4 or 5 gems, maybe. Like, I'm okay with this turn. Whereas, like, I get a gem. That's not good. I'm crying a little bit. So that is a pretty big nerf.
Well, or something else to reduce the gem generation, however they want to implement that. Because right now, as we mentioned, it's to the point where the moment I see a Flattusk and a Dagon on someone's board, I just give up in terms of stats. It's like I'm no longer trying to get bigger than that person. I'm already thinking, how can I scam, right? I'm either just going to try and stay alive as long as possible, or I'm going to go full poison or this or that. Like I had double Caligos as an option, but I saw that my opponent had a Golden Flattusk and an Agam, and I'm just like, I need to stop buying battle cries and just exclusively look for Dong, Spore, Nadina, Selfless, because nothing I do here with these double Caligos is going to matter. And I feel like that should hardly ever be the case where I don't even want to try. Like, I don't even want to try with double Caligos. That's pretty bad.
You should have gotten Nadina as well, man. You need double Caligos and Nadina.
Even then, like, it just
and
doesn't
then
matter.
maybe you have a chance,
Like, I need Poison Dong with Nadina at that point, right?
It's rough, yeah. The scaling with that particular combo is really, really strong. So, that is something to look into, as I put it. But yeah. Any other little thoughts you have here before we wrap this up?
For me, those were the 2 main ones. Where there's the ideal world where you reduce damage, and then there's a Flattusk. Anything you wanna add, Slysssa?
I think that's good. I like it.
All right, sounds good. That is our last topic. Overall, we talked about the patches and just the changes. Right, we have 2 new heroes being added, so those look fun. I'll probably play them once and then never play them again, except unless I like them. Maiev's being removed, a little bit sad. Siegebreaker's being removed, no one cares. There's a hero powering demon. I mean, there's a hyper leveling demon being added, so might want to pick those up if you're looking to level. What else was changed? Quilboars are not in all the time, so I think that changes a lot. If you stop seeing Quilboar boards, right, you can now feel a little bit safer with Menagerie scaling, Lifing scaling, right? Because they're not gonna have Quilboar scaling to counteract you and things like that. So that's probably the biggest change, and probably something we will be talking about next week. But overall, it's been a good discussion. Glad to see they're having more patches. I didn't know the patch was coming, so it's good to talk about it. A lot of changes. I want to see how it affects the games, mostly the Quilboar removal. I want to see how it feels, right? Because it feels so different once something that's always in is gone, right? And I wonder, like, oh my god, I forgot how the game was like without Quilboars. So that's gonna be fun. But generally, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for participating. Thank you, Slysssa, for joining us here.
Thanks for having me.
I
appreciate it.
Hope you had a little bit of fun.
I did. I miss you guys.
Thank you. And thank you for watching. Thank you for the comments and the feedback and the improvements. Need to work on the timestamps, but sometimes I get lazy and I'm like, I got the video up. That's good enough for me, but I'll get the timestamps running again. But you can catch us. You can send us feedback on hsbgpodcast@gmail.com. You can reach me at Educatedcollins to Twitter and Twitch and YouTube. Same thing for Shady. And how about you, Slysssa? Where can we find you at?
Twitch.tv/Slysssa, youtube.com/SlyssaHS. Twitter is Slysssa, all with SLYSSSA.
Yeah, gotta get that triple S or maybe even quad S in the as well.
Quad S, three consecutive.
3 consecutive. But that'll be it for our show today. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care of yourselves.